I'm happy to say the 1200GS has been a success. It's been an awesome little project to do. I've enjoyed not going overboard and trying to make everything perfect about it. Just getting it to a functioning adventure bike. Promised wheelies. I will do wheelies. I promise that'll happen. Now, we've done all the workshopy bits. The big question is, will it actually survive a riding trip? Because, I don't know. I've ridden it up the road and done some jumps on it, but that's it. So the big test for this now is to go on a proper adventure. Again, in the spirit of this bike, I'm not looking to... Well, I'd love to spend a load of thousands of pounds and go to Morocco on it, but this is about a budget adventure bike and about budget adventures. So I was sort of scanning my brain of what to do. The thing I've come up with is I'm going to go and ride and see a mate I haven't seen for ages. And that seems as good an excuse for a riding trip as any. At this time of year, it's exactly the sort of trip you'd normally just jump in the van and be warm and dry and lazy on. So for me, that's the perfect excuse to grab this, go out and do a proper big mileage trip to my mate's house. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One, it's always nice to go and see mates that you've not seen for a long time. And two, I spend a lot of time, I live in a beautiful place where people come to visit me and I take them off all around my really nice local roads in Wales. I'm going to let someone else hit the legwork for a change. I'm going to go and visit my mate Ollie. He lives down in the Surrey Hills, which probably isn't on the top of everyone's adventure riding destination list, but he assures me he has got some absolutely fabulous little roads, tiny trails and back routes that no one really goes on. So I'm going to ride down there and let him take me out on all his local haunts for a day. And yeah, have a whiskey, have a catch up with an old mate, and go and ride my bike for a good reason. Can't wait. Right, adventure time. I hope this thing makes it. Mechanically, I'm pretty confident. It's not a high mileage one. It runs and purrs beautifully when it's ticking away in the garage. And these aren't known for randomly stopping. They're a strong old engine. So from that side of it, I'm not bothered. The thing that weighs on my mind is that it's been taken to pieces. I put it all back together again. Did I get everything right? Did I remember to put that bit on? That's the bit that you're like, oh. I hope I did my job right. But I've got a bag full of tools, got zip ties, duct tape and a penknife. That should be fine. It's really nice leaving home on a bike that I put together myself, that was written off, was in bits, was not working, arrived in a van, non-functional, and now I'm about to ride a good few hundred miles to go and see a mate on it. I like that. A warm, fuzzy feeling. It'll be a warmer and fuzzier feeling when I get there and he's got the kettle on. I think this was the one that BMW conquered the adventure bike market with, in my humble BM opinion. The 1150 was amazing, but it was a big, bouncy, weird old thing. This dropped just enough of the weirdness to become really popular. It was fast, it handled way better than an adventure bike should, and more importantly, when you loaded it up with way too much luggage and a pillion, it still handled really well, and that is an absolute godsend if you're someone who likes to go on long trips with a pillion. The engine, having that torquey boxer motor, meant that riding fast was effortless. You just rolled on the gas and it out of corners. You weren't chasing gears all the time. It was never that buzzy. It's such a smooth bike once you're on the motorway and once you're cruising. And I think, yeah, those factors combined with the fact that it was ridiculously reliable. BMW have a very good reputation for looking after customers. I think that's why BM became the king of adventure bike market for so long. The legacy of this bike. And you could see it in just the way I was getting ready to come out today. I grabbed an old tail pack out of my shed. Admittedly, it is a BMW one, but I threw it on the bike and there were strap points to strap it to straight away, and it wasn't just like, oh, what can I tie it to? It was, which of these 8 different tie down points, dedicated tie down points, do I want to use to hold my bag on? Yeah, whereas, funny, I got the new 1300 out the other week and it was a pain in the backside to strap a bag to, because it had the special pannier rails and you have to have a different rail if you want one to strap a bag to. And these things were so versatile. You've got the adjustable screen, you've got good handguards that keep your hands warm, heated grips. There's an easy way to adjust the headlight if you've got a pillion on. There's an easy to get to preload adjuster when you've put a load of luggage on it. For a pillion, there's massive grab handles as standard. Just a very practical bike, and that's not exciting or sexy or in any way awesome, but it just makes it so easy to get on and use for everything. These bikes are known to do 100,000 miles, and it's not uncommon to see them with that sort of mileage on. If you have a quick flick through the ones for sale on eBay, there's so many at 50,000+ miles, and you know, several at the 100,000 mile mark. It says a lot about the reliability of these bikes. I just don't want to talk about it too much until I've made it to my mate's house. So the trip, where are we going? I've got a really good mate who I've known for many, many years, and he was the first photographer I ever worked with at Superbike magazine in 2011, when I started as a scruffy little punk kid with a stupid haircut. Yes, stupider than the one now. And the first road test I went on was with this man, this guy called Ollie Tennant. He's a very renowned motorcycle and car photographer, but also does helicopters and aeroplanes. He's done some absolutely amazing stuff in his life. And he did look after me on that first shoot, and I was a scruffy little idiot doing skids and wheelies everywhere. I'm not sure how much has changed. Alright, I'm going to spare you the 3 hours of motorway blur. I will see you either when I roll up at Ollie's house, or when I've broken down at the side of the road. We'll see.
A few moments later.
Uh-oh. Yeah, it stopped. It has stopped on the M4, which sucks. I don't know if the fuel tank says it's full, but I'm wondering if there's a lie going on in the fuel tank. I wonder if my fuel pump is lying to me. It was absolutely fine. It just turned off and coasted to the hard shoulder. It's a bit annoying. It's not actually that much fun being sat on the hard shoulder either, if I'm honest. Laying there on the side, the fuel's around to everything. I think it's fuel pump relay, which is a bit of, apparently, one of those things that's a known problem on these, but it's only known if you know it, and I didn't know it. But apparently the fuel pump relays can be a bit of a pain on them. I'm currently, it's not a relay like you'd find in a car or anything, it's a specific BMW style relay. So I'm currently taking it apart with the hodgepodge of tools I've got, trying not to drop a load of fuel in the tank in the process, and mud and crap. Oh god, that's gross. That's my relay. Those are the two wires that I think need joining together. In my mind, if I just put power to those two wires, my fuel pump will run. So I'm wondering if I can hotwire the fuel pump by just running power straight to them. Have some wires. Potentially this could be a thing and it could work, or it could all catch fire. That's a dreadful connection, but it will do. Tuck that in there for now. We've got it this end. I like the idea of sparky wires right next to my petrol tank. What do you reckon? Yellow for positive, blue for negative? You reckon just take a random stab in the dark guess and hope for the best? Yes. Right. We're going for red to yellow, blue to black. Right, that makes the fuel pump run. So, if I now do ignition on, fuel pump running, didn't work. Maybe it's running the wrong way. There we go. Well, that's unhelpful. I think I've identified the problem as the fuel pump controller, which is that relay basically that's being a pain. I'm going to try and bridge it straight to the battery. I did that and the fuel pump came on, which is a win. So I'm going to try and see if that starts it. But now the battery's gone flat on the bike. I've tried to start it too many times. It won't quite crank over, so I've turned it off to see if it'll come back to life. And I'm just gonna make this patch lead, and I might have to bump start the bike, but turns out blue is the positive one, which I did confirm after some Googling. But I'm hoping I can get this going long enough to actually ride it somewhere. How long it will last is another question. But fuel pump controller patch wire in place. Let's see one more time if you're going to behave. I wonder if my fuel pump is actually what's gone wrong. Well, that should have worked, and it didn't. It's broken. I have stripped the fuel pump off, taken the fuel lines out, run a patch lead, run direct power to the fuel pump, and it is pumping, but it doesn't seem to be lifting the fuel out of the tank. The only other little caveat is the fuel level is really low. It said I had 85 miles left, or 80 miles, and it said I think 2 or 3 bars of fuel on the tank, but there's not that much in the tank. So I'm wondering if it's not able to pull the fuel up from the bottom of the tank. There was fuel over the pickup from what I could see, but yeah, it's broken. So what I probably should have done is done some better test rides near home rather than just bombing down the motorway, but where's the fun in that? I've bailed out, I've got my dad on the way with my van, pick it up, I'm going to lob it in the back of the van and get it fixed and have another go. A really nice bloke in the van did stop and offer me a lift, but I'm only 40 minutes away from dad now, so I shall sit here, put the rest of it back together that I've been taking apart and head home for a cup of tea. Try again. We're back in the garage. Got full house. I got my dad and mate Evan in here today working on a few bikes in the background, but yeah, massive thanks to Dad for rescuing me. now I've rewarded him with a knackered old Honda Cub to fix. I've got the bike back in. First thing I'm going to do, which I really am dreading, is I'm just going to put 5 litres of fuel with it, reconnect the wires I cut on the solenoid, and see if it runs. It may be that I missed something at the side of the road. I was trying to fix it next to the cars, but if I put the fuel back in it and it runs, I'll I'll be swearing, and I've got witnesses, so I can't even lie about it and pretend it was some fault. That's going to be the first port of call. Chuck 5 litres of fuel. When I took it apart, there was only about a litre of fuel in the bottom of the tank, but it looked to me like the T-strainer, the filter on the bottom of the pump, was in it. Again, I might have been wrong. I was in a rush trying to fix it at the side of the road, so we all make mistakes. Let's chuck 5 litres in, see where we're at. If it starts, happy days, I'll get back on the road and ride and see Holly. If it doesn't start, then we start going into the fuel pump relay, see if it's any of those issues. So I'm actually just finishing my bodge. At the side of the road, I bypassed the relay for the fuel pump. It's a control module on these, but with a couple of wires to a battery just to put 12 volts straight into the fuel pump. I'm going to do that first and see if that fixes it, and then I'll go back afterwards and recheck whether the relay's actually working. So little patch wire, plug that in, see what happens. That sounds like the fuel pump's running in the right direction now.
That's almost as bad.
I am going to call out at this point the UK GS's forum. Because I wired the fuel pump round this way round to start with, and the bike didn't start, so I switched the fuel pump wiring based on what was written on the UK GS's forum. So what we learned today: 1, don't trust the fuel gauge on an old motorbike. 2, don't believe everything you read on the internet. And 3, don't get found out that you've been a wally in front of Evan and Dad, because they're never going to let you live it down. But it works!
Does this also prove that it was the relay?
It does also prove that it was the relay.
Thank you very much.
So, which was Evan's first thing. So it's still not my fault. I haven't had a recovery for breaking down just for running out of fuel. It does look like it was the relay. I'm going to just plumb the relay back in and just double check that there's still salvation for me yet. Right, moment of truth now. Let's see if the relay fires the fuel pump. I'm off the hook. I'm off the hook. That's running, but that's running on the fuel that was still in the bike. Yeah. Relay has died. So, it had broken down. It hadn't just run out of fuel. Relay has died, and actually bypassing it, I would have probably been able to bypass that relay eventually had I not run out of battery power and managed to get the pump to pump the right direction. So half off the hook. But what I'll do now is I'll order a new relay. I'll pack in the little bypass system into my tail pack in case I ever have the problem again, or meet someone else who does. But fuel pump relay in the post, and then chuck it back together. And this time we are going to go riding. We're not going to get stuck on the M4, and I'm not going to end up in the back of the van. I have confidence.